The stars trembled when the Vorthak hunting fleet moved through space. 50,000 black ships cut through the darkness like deadly arrows. Each ship carried death inside its metal walls. Commander Vextar stood 12 feet tall on the bridge of his flagship. His obsidian scales caught the red light of the command center. Sharp claws clicked against his control panel as he studied the holographic display floating before him. The display showed a small blue planet in the outer edge of the galaxy. "Target, confirmed Talon Prime," said Sub-Commander Cragmoth. He was smaller than Vextar but still deadly. Yellow eyes glowed in his reptilian face. Species designation, human. Planet designation, Earth. Vexitar's mouth opened to show rows of razor teeth. This was his smile. For 3,000 years, the Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy. They were the ultimate hunters. No prey had ever escaped them. No species had survived their first attack. "Show me the data," Vextar commanded. The hologram changed. Images of humans appeared in the air. They looked weak. Small bipedal mammals with soft skin and no natural weapons. No claws, no scales, no poison. They seemed pathetic. "They fight among themselves constantly," Cragmoth reported, "divided into competing nations, primitive technology, nuclear weapons, chemical rockets, basic communication systems." Vextar studied the humans carefully. The Vorthak had perfected their hunting method over thousands of years. They called it the Apex Protocol. First, they watched their prey for months. They learned every weakness, every fear, every strength. Then they struck with overwhelming force. No species had ever survived the first assault. The humans looked different from their usual prey. Most species the Vorthak hunted were peaceful. They had evolved on safe worlds with few predators. When the Vorthak came, these species panicked and died quickly. But humans seemed violent. The data showed constant warfare across their planet. They killed each other with terrible efficiency. Their weapons grew deadlier each century. "These humans worry me, Talon Prime," Cragmoth said quietly. "They are aggressive. Maybe we should study them longer." Vextar's claws scratched against the metal. His yellow eyes burned with hunger. "Aggression without unity means nothing," he growled. "Look at them. They cannot even unite against their own species. How can they unite against us?" The display showed human wars throughout history. Brother fought brother. Nation fought nation. Religion fought religion. They seemed incapable of working together. "Besides," Vextar continued, "their aggression makes them better trophies. The more they fight, the greater the honor when we defeat them." The Vorthak collected trophies from every species they conquered. Skulls, bones, weapons, art, anything that proved their victory. In Vextar's private chamber, he kept 127 different trophies. Each represented a dead species. Soon he would add, "Trophy number 128. "Begin the Apex Protocol," Vextar ordered. "Deploy scout ships. I want to know everything about these humans. Their military strength, their leadership, their technology, their fears. Leave nothing to chance." The scout ships launched from the main fleet. They were invisible to human sensors. For the next 3 months, they would watch and learn. They would study human behavior like scientists studying insects. Moth pulled up more data. "The humans have no unified government," he said. "Multiple power centers, nuclear weapons spread across many nations. If we eliminate their leadership, the rest will collapse." "Perfect," Vextar said. "Fear and chaos. Our favorite weapons." The Vorthak had used the same strategy for 3 millennia. Identify the prey species leadership. Strike the command centers. First, watch the civilization collapse into panic and confusion. Then hunt down the survivors one by one. It had never failed. "What about their space capabilities?" Vextar asked. "Limited," Cragmoth replied. "They have one small orbital station, a few satellites, some exploration probes, no real military presence in space. We could destroy their entire space infrastructure in minutes." Vextar nodded. Most species they hunted were spacefaring civilizations. They had spread across multiple worlds, making the hunt more challenging, but humans were still trapped on their home planet. This would be easy. Weapons analysis? Nuclear missiles are their strongest weapons, Cragmoth said. Crude but effective. Chemical explosives, kinetic projectiles. Energy weapons are primitive. No plasma technology, no antimatter weapons, no shields. The Vorthak possessed all of these things and more. Their ships could destroy entire continents. Their personal weapons could cut through steel like paper. Their armor could stop any human weapon. Estimated resistance time? Vextar asked. 72 hours maximum, Cragmoth calculated. Possibly less if we strike their leadership first. Vextar's smile grew wider. 72 hours was longer than most species lasted. The record was held by the Zentari, who managed to resist for 96 hours. But they had been a unified species with advanced technology. These humans were primitive and divided. Prepare the hunting packs, Vextar commanded. I want teams ready for planetary assault. Focus on population centers. Leave some survivors for the trophy hunt. The trophy hunt was the final phase of conquest. After breaking a species' military, the Vorthak would hunt survivors for sport. The best hunters competed to see who could collect the most impressive trophies. It was considered the highest honor in Vorthak culture. One thing puzzles me. Talon Prime, Cragmoth said. The humans have survived on a dangerous planet. Earth has many predators, natural disasters, harsh environments. Most species we hunt evolved on peaceful worlds. These humans learned to survive in chaos. Vextar's claws stopped clicking. He stared at his subordinate with cold eyes. Are you questioning the Apex Protocol Subcommander? No, Talon Prime, Cragmoth said quickly. I merely observed an interesting fact. Facts are irrelevant, Vextar said. Results matter. We have conquered 127 species. We have never failed. These humans will be no different. The fleet continued moving toward Earth. In the cargo holds, Vorthak warriors sharpened their claws and prepared their weapons. They dreamed of human trophies. They imagined the fear in human eyes. They planned how they would display their prizes. None of them suspected that this hunt would be different. None of them realized they were not moving toward prey. They were moving toward predators who had been waiting their entire evolutionary history for something like the Vorthak to appear. In 3 months, the most successful hunters in galactic history would learn what it felt like to be hunted. The Vorthak fleet reached the edge of Earth's solar system. Vextar stood on his bridge and looked at the small blue planet through his ship's sensors. Soon it would be just another trophy. He had no idea that humanity was about to teach the galaxy a new definition of apex predator. Captain Jiho Kim was drinking coffee when the universe changed forever. He sat in the command center of the orbital station New Horizon, watching Earth spin slowly below. The morning shift had just begun when the communication array started screaming. Captain, called Communications Officer Park. We're receiving a transmission, unknown origin. The signal is impossibly strong. Jiho set down his coffee cup. In 10 years of space service, he had never heard Park sound scared. Put it through. The voice that filled the command center was cold and mechanical. It spoke perfect English, though something about the pronunciation felt wrong. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Vorthak. Your species has been selected for harvesting. Prepare for collection. Resistance is futile. Submit and your deaths will be quick. Silence filled the station. Jiho's hands gripped his chair arms. Did that thing just threaten to kill everyone on Earth? Yes, sir, Park whispered. Get me President Hyunwoo Park emergency channel now. Within minutes, emergency sessions convened across Earth. President Park called together the United Earth Coalition's Security Council. Defense Minister Somin Lee stood before a massive screen showing satellite data. The transmission came from beyond Neptune, she reported. Our deep space sensors detect massive energy signatures moving toward Earth. Whatever sent that message has a fleet with them. Dr. Minho Choi, Earth's leading expert on the possibility of alien life, studied the Data with shaking hands. The energy readings are off our scales, he said. Each contact signature is larger than our biggest aircraft carriers, and there are thousands of them. President Park's face was pale but determined. How long until they arrive? At their current speed, approximately 72 hours, someone answered. What are our defensive capabilities against a superior alien force? Soman hesitated. Mr. President, if these readings are accurate, we're looking at technology decades or centuries beyond ours. Our nuclear arsenal might slow them down, but we can't win a straight fight, President Park finished. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the math. Humanity had spent centuries fighting each other. They had never faced an external threat to the entire species. Lieutenant Colonel Yuna Zhang from Special Operations cleared her throat. Sir, I request permission to speak freely. Granted. These aliens made a mistake, Yuna said. They announced themselves. They gave us warning. They told us exactly what they planned to do. How is that a mistake? Asked Dr. Choi. Because they're treating this like we're just another conquest. They expect us to panic, fight among ourselves, and collapse. They don't understand what humans do when we're cornered. Strategic analyst Sunho B.A. pulled up historical data on his tablet. Colonel Zhang raises an interesting point. Throughout human history, external threats have unified us like nothing else. World wars, natural disasters, terrorist attacks. We fight each other until someone threatens the whole tribe. Then we become something different. President Park studied the faces around the table. Representatives from every major nation sat together. Just 24 hours ago, half of them had been arguing about trade disputes and border conflicts. Now they all looked at him with the same expression, determination. What are you thinking, Mr. BAE? The president asked. These aliens have clearly done this before, Sunho said. They have a system. They announce themselves, study their targets, then attack. It's worked for them in the past, but they're studying the wrong things about us. He activated the room's main display. Satellite images of Earth appeared, showing military bases, government buildings, and industrial centers. They're watching our militaries, our governments, our obvious targets, Sunho continued. They think they understand our capabilities because they see our official strength. But that's not where humanity's real power comes from. Dr. Choi leaned forward. What do you mean? I mean they're predators studying prey, Sunho said. They don't understand that humans are also predators. They see our military and think that's our fighting force. They don't realize that every human civilian is a potential warrior. Lieutenant Colonel Yuna nodded slowly. Protocol deception. Exactly. President Park looked between them. Explain this protocol. We give them what they expect to see, Yuna said. We make our official military forces look as threatening as possible. We draw their attention to all the obvious targets. Meanwhile, we prepare the real response, which is 8 billion humans who don't like being threatened. Defense Minister Soman pulled up global communication networks. We'd need to coordinate with civilian populations worldwide. Manufacturing, transportation, agriculture, technology sectors. Everyone. Can we do it in 72 hours? President Park asked. Sir, said Communications Director Hyan. We've been analyzing the alien transmission. It was broadcast simultaneously to every government on Earth in the native language of each nation. They want our leaders to know they're coming. They're trying to cause panic. Instead, they gave us time to prepare, Sunho said. Over the next hour, the plan took shape. Military forces would increase visible activity around major installations. This would convince the aliens that Earth's defenses were concentrated in predictable locations. Meanwhile, civilian infrastructure would quietly transform. Factory supervisor Do-hyun Kim received encrypted instructions at his manufacturing plant outside Seoul. Within hours, his production line stopped making automobiles and started making weapons components. Truck driver Kiwon Nam got a text message with GPS coordinates. He drove to a military depot where soldiers loaded his cargo trailer with concealed missile pods. To alien sensors, He would look like civilian traffic. Farmer Yuna Song reprogrammed her agricultural drones. Instead of monitoring crops, they now carried small explosives and reconnaissance equipment. From space, her farm looked peaceful and harmless. Across Earth, similar preparations multiplied. Retired engineer Sujin Park gathered her computer club to work on something they called digital warfare. Teacher Jiwon Lee organized neighborhood children into communication networks that could track movement better than military satellites. The aliens watched all of this activity and saw exactly what they expected: a primitive species with divided leadership and obvious military targets. They did not see the real preparation. They did not understand that humanity was not preparing to defend itself. Humanity was preparing to hunt. Captain Jiho Kim remained on New Horizon, monitoring alien fleet movements. Every few hours, he received reports from Earth. The transformation happening below amazed him. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Park, "I'm detecting increased alien scout activity. Small ships are scanning our major cities and military installations." "Let them look," Jiho said quietly. "Are our false signals working?" "Perfectly, sir. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see." On Earth, President Park held another emergency session. This time the mood was different. Fear had transformed into something harder and more dangerous. "Status report," he requested. "Global coordination is functioning beyond expectations," Defense Minister So-min reported. "Civilian populations are responding faster than our most optimistic projections." "The aliens are taking the bait," added Sunho Bae. "Their scouts are focusing on government buildings, military bases, and obvious infrastructure. They're ignoring everything else." Dr. Minho Choi looked up from his analysis of intercepted alien communications. "I've been studying their language patterns. These aliens call their process the Apex Protocol. They've used it successfully many times before." "What does that tell us?" "It tells us they're overconfident," Dr. Choi said. "They think they know how this ends because they've done it before. They're not prepared for something new." Lieutenant Colonel Yuna smiled grimly. "Good. Overconfident predators make mistakes." As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, both sides prepared for contact. The Vorthak saw a divided primitive species with predictable defenses and obvious weaknesses. Humanity saw an enemy that had made the fatal error of giving them time to prepare and unite. Neither side fully understood what was about to happen, but only one side was about to learn what humans become when someone threatens their family. The Vorthak attack began exactly as planned. Precision strikes hit major military installations across Earth. Nuclear missile silos erupted in flames. Air Force bases vanished under alien plasma bombardment. Navy fleets disappeared beneath waves of energy weapons. Commander Vextar watched the destruction from his flagship and smiled. "Textbook execution," he told Subcommander Kragmoth. "Human resistance should collapse within hours." But something was wrong. The expected chaos did not come. Global communications stayed online. Power grids continued functioning. Transportation networks kept running. Instead of panicking, human activity seemed to increase. Talon Prime reported a scout ship commander. "We are detecting unusual energy signatures from civilian areas. The readings don't match any known weapons." "Investigate." Vextar ordered. What the scouts found confused them. Across Earth, ordinary humans were doing extraordinary things. Truck driver Kiwon Nam drove his cargo trailer down a highway outside Tokyo. To alien sensors, he looked like panicked civilian traffic fleeing the city. When 3 Vorthak fighters swooped down to strafe the highway, Kiwon pressed a button on his dashboard. Hidden missile pods unfolded from his trailer. 6 surface-to-air missiles screamed into the sky. All 3 alien fighters exploded. Kiwon calmly radioed his position to nearby units and continued driving. His trailer held 47 more missiles. In rural Kansas, farmer Unisong watched alien dropships landing in her wheat fields. The massive ships disgorged Vorthak warriors who expected to find cowering human civilians. Instead, they found a wheat field full of mines. As the aliens spread out to begin their hunt, Yuna activated her agricultural drones. What the Vorthak had seen as primitive farming equipment revealed itself as a coordinated swarm of explosive devices. The wheat field became a killing zone. In downtown Seoul, factory worker Do-hyun Kim's manufacturing plant had supposedly been evacuated. When Vorthak warriors broke down the doors, they found empty assembly lines and silent machinery. They did not find empty buildings. The assembly lines activated. Instead of building cars, they began building weapons in real time. Automated systems that had been making door handles and seat cushions retooled themselves to produce bullets and bombs. The Vorthak warriors found themselves trapped in a building that was actively trying to kill them. Commander Vextar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Red warning symbols appeared across Earth faster than his computers could track them. Every time his forces engaged what looked like helpless humans, they encountered organized resistance. "This is impossible," he growled. "Our intelligence showed divided militaries and primitive technology." "Perhaps our intelligence was incorrect," Cragmoth suggested carefully. "Intelligence is never incorrect. These humans are using deception." But it was more than deception. It was evolution in action. Retired engineer Sujin Park sat in her basement with her computer club. They were all over 60 years old. They looked like harmless grandmothers drinking tea and playing online games. They were actually the most dangerous people on Earth. "I'm inside their communication network," Sujin announced to her team. "Their security is good, but not good enough." Her fingers flew across her keyboard. Within minutes, she had access to Vorthak tactical frequencies. She could hear their commanders coordinating attacks. More importantly, she could interfere with those communications. "Strike Team 7, target the shopping center," came an alien voice over the radio. Sujin modified the message in real time. "Strike Team 7, target the empty field." The Vorthak strike team obediently attacked an empty field while human defenders prepared for them at the shopping center. Across Earth, similar scenes multiplied. The Vorthak had prepared to fight a military. Instead, they faced an entire species that had weaponized itself. Teacher Jae-won Lee had organized his neighborhood into the most efficient intelligence network the aliens had ever encountered. Children on bicycles tracked alien movements better than military satellites. Housewives with smartphones coordinated attacks with surgical precision. When a Vorthak patrol entered Jae-won's district, they faced resistance that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The corner store owner had explosives. The mail carrier carried military-grade weapons. The elderly woman feeding pigeons was actually directing sniper fire. The patrol was destroyed in minutes. The neighborhood looked exactly the same as before. But the moment that truly broke Vorthak confidence came when they began taking prisoners. Merchant Marine Dong-hae Jin was captured during an alien raid on Busan port. The Vorthak dragged him to their interrogation center, expecting him to reveal human military secrets under torture. They had never encountered anything like human stubbornness. "Tell us about your defensive capabilities," demanded the Vorthak. Interrogator. Dong-hae, bleeding and beaten, looked up at his captor and laughed. "You want to know about human capabilities? You're looking at them." "You will break," the alien hissed. "All species break." "Maybe," Dong-hae said, "but not today." Hours of torture produced nothing but defiant laughter. When EMT Min Ji-oh was captured alongside other medical personnel, the aliens expected her to beg for mercy. Instead, she studied their anatomy with professional interest. "Interesting respiratory system," she commented while hanging from alien restraints. "I bet you're vulnerable to certain atmospheric changes." The Vorthak interrogator leaned closer. "What do you mean?" Minji smiled. "I mean every species has weaknesses, and we're very good at finding weaknesses." The captured humans shared information about their captors faster than the aliens realized. Within days, human forces knew exactly how to kill Vorthak warriors efficiently. Commander. Cragmoth approached his leader with growing concern. "Talon Prime, we are experiencing resistance levels beyond all previous encounters. Our casualties are approaching 10%. 10% casualties was unheard of in Vorthak history. Most species collapsed before inflicting any significant damage." "How is this possible?" Vextar demanded. The humans fight differently than any species we have encountered, Kragmoth explained. They do not have a military hierarchy we can decapitate. Every civilian seems to be a potential combatant. They coordinate without central command. Vextar studied his tactical display. The human resistance was spreading like an infection. Every time his forces seemed to gain ground, new threats emerged from unexpected directions. They fight like... He paused, struggling to find the right comparison, like predators Talon Prime. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The Vorthak were predators. They had always been the hunters. The idea that they might be facing another predator species had never occurred to them. Impossible, Vextar said. Predator species are rare. We would have detected the signs. Perhaps we did detect them, Kragmoth said quietly. Their constant warfare, their aggressive nature, their survival on a dangerous world. We dismissed these as weaknesses. Because they fight among themselves. But Talon Prime, what if they fight among themselves because they are all predators? What if their internal conflicts are training exercises? Vextar's claws scraped against his command console. The idea was terrifying. If humans were natural predators who had been practicing warfare on each other for thousands of years, then the Vorthak had not found prey. They had found competition. And for the first time in 3 millennia of conquest, the competition was winning. On Earth, the tide of battle shifted hour by hour. Human forces adapted to alien tactics faster than the aliens could develop new strategies. Every human death made the survivors more dangerous. President Hyunwoo Park addressed the world from his secure bunker. Citizens of Earth, we face an enemy that has conquered many worlds, but they have never faced humanity. Show them what happens when they threaten our home. The response was immediate and terrifying. 8 billion humans stopped fighting each other and started fighting back. The Vorthak realized too late that they had not encountered prey. They had awakened something that evolution had spent millions of years creating specifically to hunt hunters like them. 6 months after first contact, the Vorthak Empire faced something they had never experienced in 3,000 years of conquest. Defeat. What had begun as a simple harvest had become a nightmare. The humans did not just resist. They evolved, adapted, and most terrifyingly of all, they began hunting their hunters. Engineer Kyungmin Ro stood in what had once been a civilian electronics factory. Now it was humanity's most advanced research facility. Around her, teams of scientists worked on technology that should not have existed. Status report on the reverse engineering project, she called out. We've successfully analyzed 3 complete Vorthak fighters, replied Dr. Jisoo Kim. Their plasma weapons are actually less sophisticated than we expected. We can build better versions using human manufacturing techniques. This had become humanity's greatest advantage. The Vorthak possessed superior individual technologies, but humans excelled at mass production and rapid innovation. While the aliens took months to build a single fighter, human factories were already producing improved versions by the thousands. What about their defensive system? Kyungmin asked. Cracked, said systems analyst Min-Sok Park. Their shields operate on a fixed frequency. We've developed weapons specifically designed to penetrate their defenses. The breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. Video game designer Yejin Cho had noticed that Vorthak shield patterns resembled problems from her puzzle games. Her solution involved quantum frequency manipulation that military scientists had considered impossible. Within weeks, human weapons were cutting through alien defenses like they didn't exist. But technology was only part of humanity's transformation. The real change was psychological. Commander Woo Jin Seo stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned human warship Retribution. 6 months ago it had been a cargo freighter. Now it bristled with weapons reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. Target acquired, reported his tactical officer. Vorthak cruiser, bearing 27 Mark IV. Begin the hunt, Woo Jin ordered. The human fleet had learned something the Vorthak never expected. How to use the Apex protocol against its creators. For months, small human teams had infiltrated Vorthak ships. But instead of trying to destroy them immediately, they studied their enemies. They learned Vorthak psychology, culture, and most importantly, their fears. Special Operations Leader Haein Kim crept through the ventilation system of a Vorthak battleship. Her team had been aboard for 3 weeks observing alien behavior patterns. They knew when the crew slept, when they ate, when they were most vulnerable. More importantly, they had learned that the Vorthak were not as fearless as they pretended to be. Team Leader, this is reconnaissance, whispered Taehyun Park through her comm system. I've identified the target's psychological weak points. Report. The Vorthak are pack hunters, but they're terrified of being hunted themselves. They've never been prey. They don't know how to handle fear. This knowledge had transformed human tactics. Instead of fighting the aliens directly, human forces began psychological warfare designed specifically for predator species. Biochemist Young Seo Choi had developed something even more effective than new weapons. She had created fear. The atmospheric compound is ready for deployment, she reported to the research team. It's specifically designed to trigger panic responses in Vorthak nervous systems. The compound was invisible and odorless to humans, but to Vorthak senses it smelled like death. More specifically, it smelled like the death of other Vorthak. When human forces deployed the compound during battles, alien warriors experienced something they had never felt before. The terror of being hunted. Data analyst Sang-Hoon Lee had contributed something equally valuable. His computer models could predict Vorthak tactical decisions with terrifying accuracy. The enemy commander will attempt to flank our positions at approximately 1400 hours, he announced during a strategy meeting. He will use the Eastern approach because Vorthak psychology favors attacks from elevated positions. How can you be so certain? Asked General Youngmin Oh. Because the Vorthak have used the same tactics for 3,000 years, Sang-Hoon explained. They're successful predators, but they're not creative. Successful predators don't need to be creative until they meet other predators. This predictability became the aliens' greatest weakness. Human forces began setting traps based on Sang-Hoon's predictions. The Vorthak walked into ambush after ambush, never understanding how the humans always knew where they would strike. But the moment that truly broke Vorthak, morale came when rescue pilot Ji-Woo Nam led Operation Nemesis. The Vorthak had captured a human research station and were using it as a base. Standard tactics called for a direct assault to retake the facility. Instead, Ji-Woo proposed something that horrified the aliens: a hunting expedition. We're going to do to them what they do to other species, she explained to her team. We're going to make them into trophies. The assault began like a standard rescue mission. Human forces attacked the station with overwhelming firepower, but instead of trying to kill the aliens quickly, they used non-lethal weapons designed to capture them alive. The Vorthak defenders found themselves facing something no predator species could endure. Becoming prey. Human soldiers moved through the station with surgical precision. They used tranquilizer weapons, electromagnetic nets, and sonic stunners. Every Vorthak warrior was taken alive. When the station was secured, the humans did something that shattered alien psychology. They put the captured Vorthak on display. Welcome to the human trophy collection, Ji-Woo announced over the station's communication system. You are now exhibits. Congratulations on becoming the first Vorthak specimens in our museum. The psychological impact was devastating. Across the galaxy, Vorthak forces learned that their warriors had been captured and turned into the very trophies they sought to collect from other species. Commander Vextar received the news aboard his flagship. For the first time in his life, he felt something he did not understand: fear. This is impossible, he growled to Sub-Commander Kragmoth. Prey species do not take predators as trophies. Perhaps they are not prey species, Talon Prime. Then, what are they? Kragmoth studied the tactical display showing human forces across the galaxy. Red symbols indicated human victories. There were too many to count. I believe they are apex predators, Talon Prime. More evolved than us. The words struck Vextar like physical blows. The Vorthak had always believed they were the ultimate evolution of predator species. They were larger, stronger, and more aggressive. than any other species they had encountered. But humans had proven something terrifying. Intelligence was more dangerous than strength. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human forces. Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was calm and confident. It belonged to Admiral Sung-Ho Yang, commander of the newly formed human retaliation fleet. "Greetings, Vorthak. You came to our world believing you were hunters. You were wrong. We are the hunters. You are now the hunted. Surrender, and we will be merciful. Continue fighting, and we will treat you the same way you treated the 127 species you destroyed." The transmission ended, leaving silence on the Vorthak bridge. Vex quote. Tar stared at the tactical display. Human fleets were moving throughout Vorthak space. They used captured alien technology improved beyond original specifications. They employed tactics that turned Vorthak's strengths into weaknesses. Most terrifyingly, they fought with the coordination and determination of a species that had spent its entire evolutionary history learning to hunt the most dangerous prey in the universe: each other. "Orders, Talon Prime?" Cragmoth asked quietly. For the first time in his life, Commander Vextar had no answer. The greatest predator in galactic history had become prey. And the humans were very, very good at hunting. 1 year after the first alien transmission reached Earth, Admiral Sung-Ho Yang stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship as it approached the Vorthak homeworld. The journey that had begun with a threat to harvest humanity was about to end with a lesson in what true apex predators looked like. The Vorthak home system was a fortress. 3 heavily armed planets surrounded by defensive stations and patrol fleets. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of galactic terror. Today, it would become something else entirely. "Status report," Admiral Yang requested. "All human fleets in position," reported Captain Ji-Ho Kim, now commanding the Orbital Defense Coordination. "Refugee fleets standing by." "Refugee fleets?" asked Communications Officer Park. Admiral Yang smiled grimly. "You'll see." The plan that was about to unfold had taken months to coordinate. It involved not just military action, but something the Vorthak had never encountered: justice. Dr. Hyejin Kang, now serving as Earth's Director of Xenological Affairs, activated the fleet-wide communication system. Her message would be broadcast not just to the human forces, but to every Vorthak in the system. "People of the Vorthak Empire," she began, "you have spent 3 millennia as hunters. Today you will learn what it means to face true predators." On the bridge of his flagship, Commander Vexitar listened to the human transmission with growing dread. His empire was collapsing. 70% of his fleets had been destroyed or captured. Vorthak colonies were surrendering without resistance. "They're not attacking," reported Sub-Commander Crag Moth. This was true. The human fleet surrounded the system but made no aggressive moves. They simply waited. "What are they doing?" Vextar demanded. His answer came in the form of new contacts appearing. On his sensors, ships were emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system, hundreds of them, then thousands. But these were not human ships. "Sir?" his tactical officer reported with confusion. "I'm detecting multiple species signatures: Zelani crystalline, vessels, Vortani energy ships, Kethran bioships. These are species from our conquest records." "Impossible," Vextar whispered. "Those species are extinct. We harvested them centuries ago." Dr. Kang's voice continued over the communication channel. "You made several mistakes in your hunting career. First, you assumed that harvesting a planet meant destroying a species. Second, you never learned to tell the difference between hunting and genocide. The truth began to unfold as more ships appeared. Species after species that the Vorthak believed they had exterminated revealed themselves to be very much alive. General Youngman, now commanding humanity's ground forces, explained the revelation to his troops. "For the past year, we've been tracking down Vorthak records. We discovered that these aliens are sloppy hunters. They would attack a species' homeworld, declare victory, and move on. but they never bothered to check for colonies, research stations, or refugees. This had been humanity's secret project. While fighting the Vorthak invasion, human rescue fleets had been locating survivors of previous Vorthak extinctions. The crystalline Zelani had hidden in asteroid mining colonies. The energy-based Vortani had survived as digital consciousness in abandoned computer networks. The bioengineered Kethran had retreated to deep space habitats. One by one. Humanity had found them all. Citizens of the galaxy, Admiral Yang announced, today we end the Vorthak Empire not through conquest, but through justice. Every species they claim to destroy stands with us now. The sight of their supposedly extinct victims returning from the grave broke what remained of Vorthak morale. Across their fleet, warriors who had never known fear began to panic. But humans had one more surprise. Vorthak forces, came a new voice over the communication channel. This one belonged to Jihye Shin, humanity's lead diplomatic negotiator. You have a choice to make. On the main viewer, Jihye's image appeared. She stood not on a warship bridge, but in what looked like a peaceful conference room. For 3,000 years you have been predators, she continued, but predators serve a purpose in nature. They control populations and strengthen ecosystems. You perverted that role. You became something nature never intended, a species that hunts for entertainment rather than survival. Commander Vextar found himself leaning forward despite himself. However, Jihye said, humans believe in second chances. We offer you the same choice we would want in your position. Evolution or extinction. The terms were simple. The Vorthak Empire would be dismantled. Their military would be restricted to defensive forces. They would provide reparations to the species they had harmed. Most importantly, they would join the new Galactic Protection Coalition as junior members. You will learn to hunt again, Jihye explained. But this time, you will hunt threats to peaceful species. You will become protectors instead of destroyers. The alternative was complete annihilation. Commander Kragmoth turned to his leader. Talon Prime, what are your orders? Vextar stared at his tactical display. The human fleet could destroy every Vorthak ship in the system. The returning extinct species were demanding justice. His own warriors were on the edge of mutiny. But the humans were offering something no one had ever offered the Vorthak before. A chance to change. Open a channel to the human command ship, he ordered. Minutes later, Vextar found himself in direct communication with Admiral Yang. I am Commander Vextar, Talon Prime of the 47th Hunting Fleet, he said formally. I know who you are, Yang replied calmly. You're the one who sent the harvesting message to Earth. Yes. That message saved your species. Vextar's confusion must have shown because Yang explained further. If you had attacked without warning, we would have fought back with everything we had. Billions would have died on both sides. There would have been no survivors to negotiate with. Your warning gave us time to prepare, which meant fewer casualties for both sides. This was humanity's final lesson for the galaxy. True apex predators didn't hunt for sport. They protected their ecosystem. We offer you the chance to become what you were always meant to be, Yang continued. Guardians instead of raiders. Protectors instead of predators. The ceremony that followed became legendary throughout the galaxy. Commander Vextar, the most feared hunter in galactic history, formally surrendered his fleet to a species that had been marked for extinction less than 2 years earlier. But, more importantly, he accepted humanity's offer of redemption. The Vorthak would spend the next century learning new roles. Their strength and aggression, properly directed, made them excellent peacekeepers. Their knowledge of hunting tactics helped them track down criminals and pirates. Under human guidance, they became protectors of the very species they had once hunted. Dr. Hyejin Kang established the Galactic Protection Coalition, with Earth as its headquarters. The coalition's mission was simple: prevent any species from repeating the Vorthak's mistakes. We learned something important about evolution, she explained to the coalition's first assembly. Apex predators don't destroy ecosystems. They maintain balance. The Vorthak became apex destroyers. We will teach the galaxy the difference. Years later, Commander Vextar, now serving as a coalition peacekeeper, met with Jihye Shin for his annual review. Do you regret not destroying us when you had the chance? He asked. He smiled. Commander, humans spent millions of years learning to hunt the most dangerous prey in the universe, each other. That taught us something no other species understands. What is that? The most dangerous predator is not the strongest or the fastest. It's the one that can turn enemies into allies. 50 years after first contact, the galaxy had learned a new truth. Predators might be feared, but protectors were revered. Humanity had evolved beyond predation into something the universe had never seen. A species that hunted those who preyed upon the innocent. The Vorthak had come to Earth believing they were untouchable apex predators. They discovered instead that true apex predators don't hunt for trophies. They hunt to protect their pack. And humanity's pack now included every peaceful species in the galaxy. The hunters had become the guardians, and the galaxy was safer for it.